Imagine waking up every day, not just hoping for blessings, but living in a heart of gratitude, thanking God for all He's already done, for what He's doing right now, and for all that is coming. That kind of faith doesn't wait for evidence. It moves with confidence, expectation, and joy. Today, we're going to explore how gratitude transforms your past, empowers your present, and unlocks your future. We've seen that remembering past victories strengthens our faith, that God is always at work even when we cannot see it, that preparation is part of His plan, and that thanking Him in advance positions us for continuous favor and growth. Gratitude is not passive, it is active faith. It shifts your mindset from fear to confidence, from limitation to expectation, and from doubt to divine trust. Every challenge, every delay, and every unseen moment is an opportunity for God to work in your life, shaping you, strengthening you, and guiding you to greater things. Gratitude is not just polite language. It is a powerful spiritual position. When you say thank you, God, you are making a bold declaration that you recognize the source behind every blessing in your life. Gratitude is faith speaking before the evidence arrives. It is the language of someone who understands that nothing they have achieved is independent of divine grace. Many people treat gratitude as a reaction to success, but true gratitude is a revelation of dependence. It acknowledges that your intelligence, your strength, your opportunities, and even your next breath are gifts. When you operate from gratitude, you stop striving to prove yourself and start resting in purpose. Gratitude shifts your mindset from entitlement to appreciation. Entitlement says, I deserve this. Gratitude says, I am thankful for this. And that shift changes everything. A grateful person walks differently, speaks differently, and thinks differently. They do not live in constant frustration because they understand that life itself is a miracle. Every sunrise is mercy. Every open door is favor. Every lesson is development. Faith without gratitude becomes anxiety, but gratitude transforms faith into confidence. When you thank God before the breakthrough, you are declaring that you trust His character more than your circumstances. You are saying that even if the situation does not yet reflect the promise, you believe the promise is already in motion. That kind of faith does not beg, it believes. It does not panic, it prepares. It does not complain, it gives thanks in advance. Gratitude also protects your heart from pride. The moment you forget the source, you begin to worship the resource. You start believing that your success is self-generated. But when you remain thankful, you remain aligned. Gratitude keeps you humble without making you small. It reminds you that you are empowered, but not independent. It reminds you that you are gifted, but not self-created. And when you understand that everything flows from God, fear begins to lose its grip because you realize the one who started your journey is faithful to sustain it. Remembering past victories strengthens present confidence. Reflection is not about living in the past. It is about extracting power from it. When you look back and see how far you have come, you begin to understand that your survival was not accidental. There were moments you thought would break you, but they built you instead. There were seasons when you felt alone, but you were being carried. There were battles you did not even know were being fought on your behalf. Memory fuels faith. When you intentionally remember what God has already done, you silence the voice of doubt that says, what if it doesn't work out? You replace it with the evidence of history that says, it has worked out before. The same God who opened doors yesterday is not weaker today. The same power that healed, restored, and provided before has not diminished. Reflection becomes reinforcement. Many people forget their victories too quickly. They move from blessing to blessing without pausing to acknowledge the journey. But when you remember, you build spiritual resilience. You remind yourself that challenges are temporary and purpose is permanent. You strengthen your confidence by revisiting the testimonies of your own life. You begin to see patterns of protection, patterns of provision, patterns of guidance. Looking back is not about nostalgia. It is about strategy. It is about collecting evidence of faithfulness so that when new challenges arise, you are not shaken. You stand firm because you have proof. You know that if you survive that season, you will survive this one. If you overcame that obstacle, you will overcome this one. Your history becomes a foundation for your expectation. Your memory becomes fuel for your momentum, and your gratitude for yesterday becomes courage for today. God is working even when you cannot see the evidence. One of the greatest tests of faith is trusting in divine activity during seasons of silence. We often equate movement with noise and progress with visible change, but God does some of his greatest work behind the scenes. Just because you cannot trace his hand does not mean you cannot trust his heart. There are moments in life when nothing appears to be shifting, yet everything is being aligned. Growth is not always dramatic. A seed does not break the surface the same day it is planted. It spends time underground, developing roots before it ever reveals leaves. In the same way, there are seasons when God is strengthening your character, expanding your capacity, and preparing your environment before your promotion becomes visible. What feels like delay is often divine design. What feels like stagnation is often silent construction. When you cannot see results, it is easy to assume nothing is happening. Doubt begins to whisper that your prayers are unheard and your efforts are wasted. But faith understands that absence of evidence is not evidence of absence. The creator of the universe does not require your visibility to validate his activity. He works in conversations you are not part of. He arranges opportunities you have not yet discovered. He shifts hearts in rooms you have never entered. Trusting God in the unseen season builds spiritual maturity. It forces you to depend on his word rather than your senses. It trains you to walk by conviction instead of confirmation. And that kind of faith produces stability. When you know that God is working even when you cannot perceive it, panic loses its authority. You stop measuring progress solely by external change and start believing in internal transformation. Many times, the greatest miracle is not the change around you, but the change within you. While you are waiting for doors to open, God may be refining your mindset. While you are praying for elevation, he may be strengthening your integrity. While you are asking for influence, he may be developing discipline. Because if the blessing arrives before the character is ready, the blessing can become a burden. Your current season is preparation, not punishment. Too many people misinterpret pressure as rejection. They assume that difficulty is a sign of abandonment. But preparation often feels uncomfortable. Training stretches muscles before it strengthens them. Education challenges the mind before it expands it. In the same way, God allows stretching before increase. Preparation is proof of value. You do not prepare something that has no future. You do not refine something that has no potential. The very fact that you are in a season of stretching suggests that something greater is ahead. The pressure is not designed to break you, but to build you. The obstacles are not meant to stop you, but to strengthen you. If you change your perspective, you change your experience. Instead of asking, why is this happening to me? Begin asking, what is this preparing me for? That single shift transforms frustration into focus. It turns confusion into curiosity. It replaces victimhood with vision. Because when you understand that preparation precedes promotion, you stop resisting the process. Every great assignment requires development. Responsibility demands readiness. Influence requires depth, and depth is formed in hidden seasons. The challenges you face today are equipping you with resilience for tomorrow. The discipline you build now will sustain the success that is coming. The patience you learn in waiting will protect you in winning. Preparation also reveals priorities. It strips away distractions and exposes weaknesses so they can be strengthened. It teaches you consistency when motivation fades. It builds endurance when excitement disappears. And endurance is what separates temporary success from lasting impact. When you embrace preparation, you stop complaining about the weight and start appreciating the workout. You recognize that what feels heavy today is increasing your capacity for tomorrow. Thanking God in advance activates expectation for greater things. There is a level of faith that responds after the miracle, but there is a higher level of faith that rejoices before it. When you thank God ahead of time, you are not ignoring reality. You are declaring a greater reality. You are aligning your words with his promises instead of your fears. Advanced gratitude is confidence in divine faithfulness. Most people wait for the contract to be signed before they celebrate. They wait for the report to change before they rejoice. They wait for the door to open before they give thanks. But faith does not operate by sight alone. Faith sees the invisible and speaks as if it is already established. When you thank God for what is coming, you are stretching your expectation beyond your current environment. Expectation shapes experience. If you expect disappointment, you interpret every delay as defeat. If you expect increase, you interpret delay as development. Gratitude in advance shifts your internal atmosphere. It creates anticipation instead of anxiety. It builds momentum instead of misery. A person who thanks God ahead of time walks with a different energy. They prepare for opportunities they have not yet seen. They position themselves for rooms they have not yet entered. Advanced gratitude also guards your mind. It protects you from doubt's erosion. Doubt asks, what if it doesn't happen? Gratitude responds, it is already in motion. Doubt magnifies obstacles. Gratitude magnifies promises. When you consistently thank God for what is ahead, you silence fear before it takes root. You discipline your thoughts to align with hope rather than hesitation. There is power in speaking ahead of manifestation. Words shape perspective, and perspective shapes action. When you say thank you for the provision, you begin managing your current resources with wisdom. When you say thank you for the opportunity, you begin preparing your skills with diligence. When you say thank you for the breakthrough, you begin strengthening your character to sustain it. Advanced gratitude is not passive. It is participatory. It moves you from wishing to preparing. A thankful heart positions you for continuous favor and growth. Gratitude is not a one-time event. It is a lifestyle. It is a daily decision to recognize goodness even in the middle of challenge. When you live from gratitude, you become aware of blessings others overlook. You see lessons in setbacks. You see opportunity in obstacles. You see potential where others see problems. Favor often flows toward those who appreciate what they already have. When you honor what is in your hand, you demonstrate readiness for more. Complaining repels growth because it signals dissatisfaction with stewardship. But gratitude multiplies capacity. It expands your awareness of possibility. It cultivates humility while strengthening confidence. A thankful heart is not naive about difficulty. It simply refuses to be defined by it. It understands that circumstances are temporary, but purpose is enduring. Gratitude creates emotional stability. It prevents success from inflating you and adversity from deflating you. It anchors you in truth regardless of fluctuation. Growth requires the right environment, and gratitude creates that environment internally. It nurtures peace. It fosters resilience. It encourages generosity. When you are thankful, you are less threatened by others' success because you trust your own journey. You are less consumed by comparison because you recognize your unique assignment. Gratitude shifts focus from competition to contribution. Continuous favor is not about luck. It is about alignment. When your heart remains thankful, your perspective remains clear. You become sensitive to guidance. You become attentive to opportunity. You remain teachable, and teachability sustains expansion. A grateful person keeps learning, keeps stretching, keeps trusting. They understand that every season carries value, every challenge carries instruction, and every blessing carries responsibility. Gratitude keeps you grounded while your influence rises, steady while your responsibilities increase, and faithful while your future unfolds. So today, decide to live in a heart of gratitude. Reflect on your victories. Trust God in your unseen season. Embrace the preparation and thank Him for the blessings yet to come. Gratitude changes everything. It transforms struggles into lessons, waiting into growth, and promise into fulfillment. Thank God for what He has done, for what He's doing now, and for the greater things on the way. Because when gratitude becomes your lifestyle, your life becomes unstoppable.